right is the right to own or carry a gun slash firearm legally with a license. The right to keep and bear arms is a right for people to own or contain a gun for protection or defense. In the United States, many people don't agree with the idea of having a license. Therefore, they own them illegally. According to Google, the gun rights means of pertaining to or supportive of the individual right to own and carry guns, opposed to the restriction of gun owning and carry. According to the Second Amendment, gun rights is the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment, one of the 10 amendments to the Constitution comprising the Bill of Rights, states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The Second Amendment is one of the 10 amendments in the United States Bill of Rights. It explains that Americans are allowed to carry a handgun legally for the use of self-defense. This right cannot be taken away from a U.S. citizen unless this person is carrying a firearm illegally and does not have a license or is under the age of 21. However, each of the states have different age limits to purchase a firearm, such as in Michigan. The legal age someone can purchase a gun in Michigan is 18. But in the state of Florida, you have to be 21 to purchase a gun legally.
The District of Columbia versus Heller was a court case that occurred in 2008. This whole case was about Heller, a special police officer who wanted a license to own a gun and to keep it at home for the purpose of self-defense. He got his applications for his license denied because of a recent rule made by the District of Columbia Provisions Code prohibiting carrying a gun unregistered. They also prohibited registering for a license to own a firearm. Heller sued the District of Columbia, but the District of Columbia's court ignored him. Then the Supreme Court revised this court case and decided to reverse this decision by making it a 5-4 majority decision in the favor of Heller. This is a plan from our current president, Joe Biden. This plan is to end gun violence or reduce or prevent gun violence. He plans to hold gun manufacturers accountable if a shooter uses one of their guns to create harm. Another thing he will do is get war weapons off our streets. These include rifles and high-capacity magazine weapons, such as rifles. Previously in 1994, Joe Biden and Senator Feinstein secured a ban on these weapons, but unfortunately it ended. He will ban manufacturers from selling rifles and regulate possession of existing assault weapons. This is already in use by the National Firearms Act. It says that people owning machine guns, silenced weapons, or short-barreled weapons must do a background check.
The first act of national gun control legislation was passed on June 26, 1934. The National Firearms Act, NFA, part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal for Crime, was meant to restrict the St. Valentine's Day Massacre from happening again. This event occurred on February 14, 1929, when 7 members and associates of Chicago's Northside Gang were killed, and then the gun control law was passed 5 years later. In the U.S., access to guns is controlled by law under a number of federal statutes, which are laws enacted by Congress with, in some cases, the approval of the President. These laws regulate the manufacture, trade, transport, possession, and destruction of firearms and ammunition. The Gun Control Act of 1968 regulates firearms at federal level, requires that citizens and legal residents must be at least 18 years of age to purchase shotguns or rifles. All other firearms, handguns for example, can only be sold to people 21 and older. The main reason for this Control Act is to reduce violence because over 40,000 people die from a gunshot wound or a gunshot. This plan helps reduce the amount of illegal usage of guns.
As president, I plan to continue to advocate for, and I think successfully advocate, for things like universal background checks. For us also to tighten up the ability of the federal government to enforce some of this gun trafficking that goes on, which has been one of our focuses among the mayors against illegal guns. And mayors care about this issue because it's the worst part of our job, is getting that message or phone call that we lost another person, usually a young person, to gun violence, or for that matter, to gun suicide in our communities. And, as a mayor who's had that experience time and time again, as mayor who's there when we swear in our cops with their spouses and sometimes children at their side, and does not wish to see them outgunned in their own neighborhoods. As somebody who is very familiar from my military training with weapons of war, somebody who carried a rifle and a pistol around a foreign land on the orders of a president, there are some weapons that just don't belong in our neighborhoods in peacetime in America. And we've already decided that this is within the Second Amendment because we've decided that somewhere in between a slingshot and a nuclear weapon, we can draw a line. And that's not unconstitutional, it's common sense.
In my opinion, I am against gun rights and for gun control. I think no one should own a gun, so therefore there would be less physical violence and less shootings around the world. There would be less illegal gun buying and less illegal gun selling.
My opinion on gun rights is that people can own guns with restrictions and they can only use it for the purpose of self-defense. If they use it for other things, like threatening people to harm them, mass shootings, and etc., I think that there should be gun control and people should be prevented of buying guns.
In my opinion, I do not support gun rights, but I do support gun control, and if a person were to carry a firearm, that they should be over the age of 21 and obtain a legal license.